What is up, Sports Geeks, and welcome back to another College Hoops podcast here. Joined by Nick. As always, Nick, pleasure having you on. And we're back on this Friday with a Final Four Friday. Say that 5 times fast right there. We have Final Four Friday here. We have our Final Four predictions. So we are in, what is this? This is late January right now. So this will be posted on probably February 1st, I think is Friday. Maybe either way. Posted late January, early February. But we are a month and a half away from Selection Sunday, from March Madness here. And so we did Final Four predictions back in November, way early Final Four predictions. Now we're back with some more accurate ones. We've seen conference play. We've seen these teams start to come out of their shell. We've seen freshmen like Cooper Flagg, like Tahad Pettiford, who I have a feeling we're going to be talking about both of them today, come out of their shell and really come into what they pursue and fulfill the potential that they have. Start to do that at least. So we're back with 4 teams. We each have 4 teams here. I'm going to turn it over to you for your first one. Real quick disclaimer: we're not using any sort of bracketology saying this team's going to come from the West, this is coming from the East. These are just the 4 teams that we like the most to make the Final Four. They all 4 could end up in the same bracket. 2 of them could be in one. 3 of them could be in one. We have no clue. We're just going off of our favorite 4 teams here. So over to you for your first one here, Nick.
All right, I'm going to talk about my least favorite team I have in my Final Four, but I still think this is a fantastic basketball team. A team that really surprised a lot of people with the first-year head coach. You really didn't know what they were going to bring. They were a bunch of old vets, a team that really didn't have any young guns that they were going to rely on, and that is the Kentucky Wildcats. You look at them, they're 14-6 right now, or 14-5. They just had a really tough loss at Vanderbilt. That's a game they should have won. The game they struggled in, but they also didn't have their starter and Andrew Carr, and Lamont Butler played the whole game hurt.
Yeah.
And they didn't have Kirk Kriisa. So, this is a team that has battled injuries all year. It's a team that's together, a team that didn't know each other, 7-8 months ago. And look what they've done. Yeah. I think this is a team that, they're going to struggle a little bit down this stretch. They got a really tough remaining schedule. But I don't see why they're not, a tournament team, a dark horse tournament team, because that's probably what's going to happen with the losses they may rack up. I see them finishing with probably 8 or so losses, maybe 8 or 9. That could be a really, really scary, 6 seed, 7 seed.
Yeah.
And once they get all the pieces back, they have a ton of guys with so much game experience, so much NCAA tournament experience. It's not even funny. And a great coach, too, in Mark Pope, who won a championship when he was a player.
Yep.
So I think for me, they are a very, very good dark horse team to make it to the Final Four. And at the beginning of the year, me and you both had them as Final Four teams, and I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, no, I love that. They did not make my Final Four this time. So it pained me to do, but I for all the reasons you said, I love it, right? It's one of those teams that if I did a Final Four and a next Final Four, right? You could just call that the Elite Eight, but the next Final Four, Kentucky's in there because I love what they have, the experience that they had, everything you hit on, right? We always talk about how are your guards going to handle pressure when it comes down to it? Well, Lamont Butler handles the ball a lot. He's somebody who's played in a national championship game. He's not going to be fazed by that, right? So I really like what this Kentucky team does. Also, I do think they're a little bit vulnerable in the sense that their defensive efficiency has not been the level that I think it should be. I will say I think Mark Pope can get that out of his guys, and they're old enough of a group that I think they can do that, but it's just not there yet. The way they can shoot the ball, they can beat anybody on the planet. Maybe not planet, any team in the nation. They are so good when they're hitting threes, and they have everybody that can do it. So I do think that's one thing that makes this Kentucky team really, really dangerous come tournament time is if you get them on the wrong night for you, the right night for them. It's good night because your season's over. We'll see you in Cancun because it's just they can shoot the lights out of the gym. So I like the Kentucky pick. They did not make mine. I'm going to go with another blue blood team here. This is a team that I shouldn't say I assume. They're certainly in mine. I would assume they're in yours, but is the Duke Blue Devils. It's hard for me to not include them in my Final Four for a couple reasons. One, I think that the impact that Sion James has had and Mason Gillis, to not talk about that is it can't be done. The impact that they're having is growing. And to me, when you have experienced players that weren't really making a huge impact earlier in the year, now they are. That's a positive sign for me, right? Two, and the elephant in the room is the maybe national player of the year, Cooper Flagg, the most talented college basketball player we've seen in a long time, right? Maybe since
Yep.
Zion Williamson, maybe since Anthony Davis, maybe since Kevin Durant at Texas. Who knows?
Yep.
But either way, the kid's unreal. His facilitation ability is spectacular. His shot making ability is spectacular. His endurance isn't talked about enough. The dude plays 36 minutes and plays his ass off, all 36 of them, and is spectacular. I love what Cooper Flagg's doing here. I love what Tyrese Proctor's able to do. He's an experienced guard. Sion James is an experienced guard coming over from Tulane, right? So I think there's a lot of experience there paired with that just raw potential of Cooper Flagg, Con Kneppel. So I love the Duke Blue Devils team. I do think that if Cooper Flagg gets in foul trouble for a game, if he's not playing, if he's not on his game, which we haven't really seen yet, right? He's been able to take over just about any game he wants to. If for some reason he's not on his game, this team could really struggle. But I do think they have enough pieces around them. They can beat if they're a 1 seed, you're going to be able to beat a 16 seed. You're going to be able to beat an 8 or a 9 seed in the first or second round. And when it gets to a big stage like the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, I'm going to take talent, and the talent is going to take me to Cooper Flagg every single time.
You could have said it any better, and you're right. I also have him in my Final Four, so I'm just going to piggyback off of what you said. You couldn't be more correct. I mean, right now, based off of Evan Meyer right now, great website. You should go check it out if you want to see any type of stat on top 10 team, top players in the country, how they affect their teams. Right now, Duke's sitting in second. Like, they're fantastic, and they're only behiund Houston. The only reason Houston's ahead of them is Houston is disgusting on defense.
Oh, yeah.
You look at this Duke team now, like we said, there was the only thing that we worried about at the beginning of the year, and a lot of people got mad at us for it, was the fact that we said they were led by a bunch of freshmen who, at the beginning of the year, did struggle in bigger games. They had their hiccups, but we're looking at them now. The past 2 games, I mean, Con Kneppel and Cooper Flagg. Kneppel had over 15 points the past 2 games. Flagg had 5 points in the first half of both games, and then went on to have 23 plus in the second half and just take over the whole game.
Yep.
And this is all on the back of not having to worry about anybody else. I mean, they lost Kaman Maluach in the second half of the game last night because he puked everywhere. He puked all over the floor. They don't have a rim protector, a rim blocker, and guess what? It still didn't make a difference.
Well,
It didn't make a difference.
Well, Cooper Flagg just said, "Okay, he's out. That's our rim protector. I'll play rim protector."
Yeah.
Right. Next play down the floor, dude backs a guy in, turns around for a post hook. Yeah, Cooper Flagg sends it in the first row.
Yep.
Okay, like whatever needs to be done, he does it. So no, I figured that you'd have him in your Final Four.
Yeah,
Another team here,
definitely in there.
Yeah, another team that is in my Final Four. These two, I will say, I'm grouping these. I have 2 not so fun picks, right? Your classics, and then I have 2 teams that I think are maybe a little bit more March Madnessy, if you will, right? These are a little bit more common. Of I could see them maybe making it, but they're not somebody that's a favorite. So I have Auburn as my other write-in. I think that they're. I don't know if you have them in yours or not, but
I do.
Okay. Yep. So Auburn, I don't think there's too much that needs to be said. They have so much ability in this team. They have everything that we talk about, the experience, the talent, the young talent. The thing that they have is the experienced talent in John I. Broome. Chad Baker-Mazar has taken a huge step forward this year. Todd Pettiford has, leaps and bounds as to what he was this year or earlier this year. And they have 6 guys averaging double figures. So I don't think there's too much I need to say about this Auburn team. They have proven it time and time again to me that they're spectacular.
Yeah, they have 3 guys right now in the top 10 players in the country that affect their team. Obviously, one of them being Janai Broome, who is going to be in a heated battle till the end with Cooper Flagg for Player of the Year. Then you have Dylan Cardwell, who's been fantastic all year, especially when Janai Broome's been out. Then you also have Chad Baker-Mazara, who's the 10th best player in the country that impacted so much when you didn't have Janai Broome. And like you said, Todd Pettiford, probably going to be the 6th man of the year, not only in the SEC, but in the country. Yeah. He's been a fantastic freshman off the bench. Like we said, he's only 6'1", 175. He's not a big guy. He is able to create his own shot. He knocks down a lot of open shots. He's creative with the ball, great off the ball. And you look at this Auburn team, they're 3rd in the country with an offensive rating of 19, the highest in the country. and then they have a defensive rating of 13. Like they're good, they're a good club. They're going to be there till the end. As long as everybody stays healthy, which is, fingers crossed, that's how it is for every team. You want them to stay healthy because you want your big dogs there at the end. I
Mhm.
mean, how do you not pick this team to go, to the Final Four? I don't see what happened to them last year happening again. I think, Bruce Pearl's going to have the guys fired up and, they're going to be ready to kick some ass come March.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm right there with you. So, okay, so you have three teams now. Right now, you have Auburn, Duke, Kentucky. And it's crazy to say this, but Kentucky is, I mean, almost a dark horse at this point. With the way that they've played as of late. So I love that. I have Duke and Auburn. Those two are not dark horses. There's no way around that.
Yeah.
Let's throw a dark horse in there because this is the third team of my Final Four here. It's the St. John's Red Storm. And I think this is a team that is not talked about near enough. And we always talk about what happens when you get, or how do you get success in March, right? How do you get success in March? How do you win games in the tournament? And it is,
I can answer that for you
could
if you
you?
want, if you'd like me to. At
Yeah,
least I think I know where you're going with this.
go right ahead. Go right ahead. I'd love to
Well,
hear your
one we love to talk about is experience.
answer.
You got experienced guys, and then you also have an experienced head coach who's won a national championship before. That's going to really help you out a
That
lot.
helps. And I would say the other aspect here that I'm going to lean into is the ability to speed teams up.
Yep.
The ability to speed teams up. You take Houston out of the picture, which Houston is similar to Kentucky. They barely missed my list because the defense they play is very, very, very good. I just think maybe I haven't seen enough on offense for me to be truly enough offensive consistency. I just think they have a few lapses here and there.
Yeah.
They're plenty talented. They could win the national championship, and I wouldn't be shocked. So Houston was barely missed my list. But outside of Houston, St. John's is the best defensive team in the nation, in my opinion. They speed teams up so fast. If you want to see what this St. John's team is about, go turn on the Xavier game. Go watch a rerun of the second half of the Xavier game. The second half in overtime, because what Xavier, it was absurd to me. I'm watching the game. The second the ball goes through the rim for St. John's, 5 guys sprint to every single player on Xavier, and they're shoulder to shoulder, chest to chest before Xavier's even inbounded the ball. If Xavier wanted to get a bucket, they had to work their ass off for 28 seconds to get a good shot. They probably hit 3 chucked threes in the second half of that game. And between second half and overtime, I believe they had 30 points in 25 minutes. So 30 points in 25 minutes, and 9 of them came off of terrible end of the shot clock, throw it to near the rim threes. The defense that St. John's plays is absolutely spectacular. You also are not relying on the three at all, right? They don't really have great 3-point shooters. So maybe you can say that that hurts them, but they are a top 5 rebounding team in the nation. And they also have experienced guard play, and they get to the free throw line. And all of those things, getting to the free throw line, experienced guard play, great rebounding, and spectacular defense, those 4 things combined makes me love them to get to the Final Four this year.
I really do love that pick because it's what every team really needs to compete in March is having depth, having guys that have played in these type of these spots and know what they're doing, and then having a coach that has won a national championship and knows what he's doing, paired with great defense.
Oh, yeah.
And you look at this St. John's team; they're a top 10 adjusted starting 5 in all of college basketball. They have 123 adjusted offensive efficiency and a 75 adjusted defensive efficiency. And this is on 238 possessions. They are fantastic. And like I told you before we started, Kadari Richmond, who was their prize transfer to go along with RJ Lewis, he is figuring it out. He's starting to figure out Rick Pitino's, what the way he plays, his style. And I think that's huge because even Rick himself said it. We brought it up. I was in the last episode or 2 episodes ago. Rick literally says, look, he didn't come here because he thinks I'm a great coach. He came here because I'm giving him all this money. He still loves his old coach at Seton Hall because he fit into his scheme better. He's going to have to learn my scheme. And it's going to take some growing pains, but we saw it against Xavier. Like we said, they were down 16. He had a fantastic game. He's starting to round into form. I think he averages 11 a game on the year. I could easily see that number by the end of the year get all the way up to 14 or so. And we could see them, in San Antonio, getting ready to battle to go to the championship game. So,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that you look at the three guards. They have Devon Smith, you have Kadari Richmond, and you have RG Lewis, which looks like Luis. It's actually Lewis. Uh, those three guys. I mean, RG Lewis is a junior, and then both Smith and Kadari Richmond are both seniors. You've
Yep.
It's old. This is old. This is old and very very talented. RG Lewis can take over games. That's what he did in the second half with the likes of Kadari Richmond. So I love the St. John's Red Storm. That's all I got to say about them. We'll start to wrap this up here. Fourth and final team for you, Nick. I will save my fourth and final team for the very end.
All right. So it kind of piggybacks off of what you just said with St. John's. I guess this team is kind of a dark horse. They've struggled to score. I think I'm going with. I'm going with the Houston Cougars. I loved this team last year. They brought back the same team as last year. They just lost their lead in Jamal Shed. And I think I said it last year. If they don't lose Jamal Shed, they're winning the championship, or they're at least getting there to play. They're getting there to play UConn.
Yeah.
That team was insane. I mean, you watched what they did against Duke. They manhandled the whole game until Jamal Shed was out. Like, they were beating the shit out of Duke. Like, this team is fantastic. Kelvin Sampson gets guys who just lock in and play an insane level of defense. Insane level of defense. I mean, their defensive rating right now is almost a 19. Like, right now, they're in the number one based off of metrics. They're the number one team in the country right now based off of metrics. Like, they have an 18.7 defensive rating and a 15 offensive rating. If they can get that 15 offensive rating to a 16.5 to a 17, that's going to be an extremely scary team because you already know what they're going to do on defense. They're an insanely high talented defensive team. They shut you down. And you look at their losses on the year. I mean, their losses are neutral court in a fantastic game, by the way, to Auburn. Neutral floor by 5 to Bama. Neutral floor by 3 to San Diego State, who's probably going to make the tournament if they do what they have to do in the Mountain West. I mean, Houston hasn't lost a Big 12 regular season game since February 4th of last year at Kansas. They haven't lost, and it is crazy what they do because you don't really see it coming with a team like this. But honestly, they're averaging a pretty good amount of points this year for a Kelvin Sampson's Houston team. They're averaging 77 points a game. They're only giving up 55.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a team that I think a lot of teams are going to pass over because they saw what happened last year. They know what their identity is, which is defense. But it works.
Yes.
It works, and I think that's why I really really like this Houston team, and I think that they could be a really good. I can't even say dark horse because they're top 10, but a team that most people wouldn't pick out of the top 10 to make the Final Four.
Yeah, no, I love that. I spoke on Houston earlier, and I was clearly high on them. So no, I like them for all the reasons you said. They're an elite defensive team. So my fourth and final team for Final Four Friday, coming at you here. I had to do it, man. I had to do it. Michigan State Spartans, and I understand. I understand this. It's a homer pick, right? I'm a Michigan State fan. I'm not going to go around it. But
you're allowed to do that.
Realistically, the Michigan State team here has generated enough hype outside of myself for me to realistically put them in here. And I think that it's always hard. It's always difficult doing these because the top 4 seeds right now have clearly looked like the top 4 seeds. So yeah, we could very easily pick them. We gotta spice it up a little bit too. I think that when it comes, January, February, Izzo, April,
I love this.
I love
this so much.
Izzo is always there in March. He can motivate his guys. This team plays such good team basketball. They're also a spectacular rebounding and free throw shooting team. They are unreal. They shoot like 85% from the line as a team, and they're top 6. I think they're 6th in the nation in rebounding. So they are a very, very good rebounding team. They shoot great from the line. And I also just think that overall, they don't rely on anybody. Jaden Akins is their leading scorer. He is somebody who, at the end of the game, you would prefer to take over the game. Yes.
Yep.
We've seen Frankie Fiddler be the guy you go to late in the game. We've seen freshman Jace Richardson be the guy you go to. We've seen redshirt freshman Jeremy Fears be the guy that you go to late in the game. Everybody scores, and that's what I think that kind of gives me a lot of hope about this Michigan State team is you're not reliant on anybody. You also play very solid defense, and you have just a plethora of scorers, and you're great at rebounding. And final point here, I know I'm saying and a lot. Final point. when it gets late in the game and you need to close a game out, how do you do it? You make free throws, you make free throws, you make free throws. And I remember watching Michigan State the year that UCLA made the Final Four. So in 2020, the COVID year, we lose to UCLA in the first four. And the reason we lost that game is because of free throws. So all the time, free throws win games late in the season, late in games. And Michigan State is a spectacular, knock on wood, spectacular free throw shooting team. So I think that's for all those reasons and my heart, I'm going to go with Michigan State to make the Final Four.
I like that pick, and I like that. I told you a few days ago when I saw that piece that Jay Wright did with Tom Izzo. I mean, you look at like their top 10 in assists, their top 10 in rebounds. They only give up 68 points per game, and they're scoring 82 points per game, which is pretty good for a Michigan State team when you only have one guy over,
double digits.
Over double digits. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And the thing I love the most about it, and I'm going to go back to this, is a great piece by CBS. It was, Jay Wright, this is one of the greatest coaches ever to coach the game. He talked about, Tom, why are you still doing this? You see a lot of these really, really good head coaches leaving. Roy Williams, Jim Boeheim, Coach K himself, Tony Bennett. They're all leaving because of this new era of basketball. He's like, well, you know what? You know why I'm staying? Because 1, I love it. 2, I don't see an end. And 3, I had a lot of former players reach out to me and tell me that I was starting to coach wrong. I wasn't coaching like my usual self. And I agree with him. He wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
You look back into like 2015s, those were the Michigan State teams. That was Michigan State hard-nosed basketball. You go back to when they played Zion and beat them. That was Michigan State basketball. They went away from that for a few years, and I think that's because Izzo was like, look, I got to cater to these kids. He went away from it. I love it. And that's a basketball coach I'd love to play for, because he said the 2 biggest things you're going to find in my players and my team is 1, accountability, and 2, discipline.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, we're not playing a brand of basketball where you're just going to shoot up 20 shots a game, not hold yourself accountable, and not play disciplined basketball. And I think that is what keeps this group so close together. And that's why I think that they could easily be a dark horse, but easily are at least an Elite 8 team.
Yep. No, I absolutely love it, obviously. So, no, that those are our Final Four teams there. So, Nick, you have Kentucky, Duke, Auburn, Houston. I have Duke, Auburn as well. And then I have the St. John's Red Storm, and the Michigan State Spartans. So those are our 4 Final Four picks for each of us. We will have plenty more college hoops content. We are in the thick of it for college hoops. So the next 2 months are going to be just filled with us on your timeline. If you're still watching, thank you for watching. This has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.